So I'm at the point where I'm taking parts from the V8 Lexus Gx470 and putting them onto my Tundra V8 to convert the engine, the exterior pieces, and some of the function over so I can use it in the FJ and it will fit. So I need this throttle body because the 2000 Tundra had a cable plus drive-by-wire throttle body assembly, and that won't work with the GX computer, which I'm going to be using, and the whole GX wire harness. And I don't want a cable going to the gas pedal anyways. So, taking off the intake here. It looks like it's shaking like crazy, but it's just the camera bouncing up and down because I have it mounted to the hood. Alright, so get that guy out of the way with just a couple clamps. And then take out the connector for the throttle body. The clip on this actually broke, so that was kind of in there loosely. Then I'm going to loosen 4 bolts. So there's 2 nuts on the top into studs that go through the throttle body, and there's 2 actual long bolts for underneath where the air goes in. Get all these off. I'm putting all this in fast forward to not to waste your guys' time. So this is a 2003 Gx470. So even between this and the 2005 4Runner V8 that I got a throttle body off, there are differences. Like for instance, you see the metal aluminum intake manifold. That's plastic on the 2005 4Runner. So in fact, this intake manifold is water cooled. Well, there's radiator fluids going through the throttle body and then through the intake manifold. Not true on the plastic manifold, or it's through some other entry port, not through the throttle body. My kids are recording some funny videos in the background. So this guy is looking pretty dirty, but in good shape. I can easily clean that with some throttle body cleaner, which I don't know why you need special cleaner versus degreaser, but whatever. I'm a sucker. I bought it. Used it a few times. Works well. So there were a few connections that you need to take off, and those have to do with the water that's running through. Also, there's a vacuum line coming to this intake. I'm showing you the part number right now, which I didn't notice on my 2000 Tundra intake, so I'll take a look at that too later. So this is the 2003 Lexus Gx470 part number. It's, made by Toyota. And this is from the 2005 4Runner V8. So they should be similar, but on this one, there's no water inlets. And on that, there are, so there's more connections. Taking a look at this, the motor assembly, electronics look pretty much like they could be the same. I'm not sure about the pinouts. It doesn't matter to me though. I'm not using that. And I'm not sure I don't know if that's a vacuum line or if it's some water going through. But I don't really care at this point, right? So I know what my plan is. Just something you may want to consider if you're doing a swap. Make sure your engine will function as is intended. So the water goes through 3 tubes, I think, on the 2003 there, and in and out. And so when I reinstall this on the 2000 Tundra, I'll just be making sure I have all the same connections. This gasket on the back end can pull off, but I left it attached because it seemed to be fairly well attached. So there's the hole that the water goes through to get into the intake manifold, into that big aluminum piece. And the water goes out or in there. I'm not sure which direction it flows. But it comes off of a T. At one point it comes off of a T in the near the water pump. Taking a look at this guy. Versus. They have the same mounting bolt pattern. Okay, so this is my 2000 Tundra engine I'll be using. I cleaned this baby up. You can see it's nice and clean. You can even see a little sunlight through, which on the butterfly valve there, I think they do that on purpose so that there's a minimal amount of air that can get through when you're not, when it's closed. When you're idling, it's probably open a little bit. Okay, so I had this open for a little while, and I had seen some oil in here. Did some Googling. Apparently, a little bit of oil in there is fine. Could have come from the PCV valve. And there's a little bit of rust or corrosion there at the sealing point. You know, it has this kind of rubber gasket that I wouldn't want any water leaking into my intake manifold and then going into my cylinders any more than what's normal coming through the airbox. So this guy fits on here. There's a connection down there that I need to put on. Slide that baby on. I could use some new tubing. A little cracked, but okay for now. And then that connection, I'm looking for the hose on this 2000 Tundra that comes up to that water connection, which should go down. Oh, I gave up on it. I'm going over here to the PCV valve. So I'll pop that on there in a minute after I figure out this other one here. So I'm going to go back over to the Lexus Gx470 and see what I can find here. So there's the tubing that goes down to a T that goes up to the water manifold there, over by the water pump and down. Now look on this 2000 engine. Okay, we do have a T here. I can see it, but the tubing going up is much thicker. So it goes off of there, comes down. There's the T. It's a much thicker tube than we have on the 2003. Curious, not sure why. Maybe they decided they didn't need that much flow. So you got a T on both of these. Eventually I'm finding it's just a matter of diameter. Another difference was the studs for the 2000 were much shorter. And that was for the other throttle body assembly with the cable. Okay, so that's from the Lexus. But now that we have the electronic, full electronic drive-by-wire, needed longer studs. So just replace them over from the Lexus engine. Put them in here. The lower bolts were the same somehow. Well, let's not say that. I have the bolts for the Tundra Tundra throttle body in my toolbox. These are just the bolts that came off the Lexus, so of course they work. I'm going to slide this back on here. And there, we got some exposed studs. Bolted up. And we're good to go. Next up will be the oil pan after this.